And welcome back to Illini Drive. It is Wednesday, February 20th. I'm Jake Hasan. Yeah, it's all right.
That's on me.
A little bit of a rough transition, but we're ready to go. We're here. I'm here. I'm Jake Hasan. Nathan DeHaan's here. Brendyn Jones is here again, filling in for Tommy Polson. Alex Aguilera is here. And housekeeping notes, Brendyn will be here every Wednesday now. He is the permanent replacement for Tommy Polson on Wednesdays. Tommy is now only on Mondays because he has other commitments on Wednesday evenings. So, Brendyn, how does it feel?
Great. I love being here. Thanks, Alex.
Bro.
Yeah, I'm ready to get rolling.
Awesome. Nathan, how are we?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Alex?
All right.
Good.
Yeah.
Jason, how are we feeling after the first official appearance on Illini Drive last week?
I'm good.
Good. Lovely.
Nothing's really changed for me, but I'm good.
Good. We got a lot to talk about today. We have the Illinois-Wisconsin game to recap. They lost 64-58. The win streak is over. They're looking to bounce back on Saturday morning against Penn State at the State Farm Center. So we'll talk about both of those games. Talk about some MLB stuff, some NFL stuff, normal national news housekeeping. But let's get into this Wisconsin game. The win streak's over. As I said, 4-game win streak is snapped. The Illini lose 64-58 in Madison. I mean, it was an ugly game for both teams. We've seen that before from Illinois, especially, I mean, the game against Rutgers comes to mind. That was kind of ugly, but they were able to pull it out. But, I mean, at the end of the day, when you shoot 21 for 56, and, I mean, you're 37% from the field in the entire game, you're just not going to win a game like that. I mean, just you didn't get production from your big three, from Io, Trent, and Georgie, and that sunk you in the end. But I still thought this was an overall a decent game. There were some positives, but I mean, what do you guys have from this game, just off the top of your head?
It was eerily like last game. It was Illinois didn't shoot well from the field. Ethan Happ was a non-factor, and yet it didn't. It ended up coming. It just couldn't close the deal. I mean, last game it wasn't as close. You know, this game it was a lot closer, and this team. What I do like about it is that there is that fight that you saw even when Io and Trent and Georgie weren't necessarily giving you big points. You know, they ended up. 10 from Georgie, 13 from Io, 8 from Trent. Aaron Jordan.
Good game for
up.
Aaron Jordan.
Yeah, Aaron Jordan steps up and has 12, 2 for 3 from 3. So, I liked that I saw an Illinois team that fights and sticks with ranked opponents on the road in the Big Ten Conference, even without their studs, their quote unquote stars. But
you want to turn the volume on your computer off?
I was late too. I was like on this page for a while. All of a sudden, I heard noise.
Delayed ads.
And then, I mean, you showed that even without the production from them, you could stick with teams, and you just sit there and say, "What if?" If shots are falling. If Trent does better than 3 for 10 from field. If Io does better than 4 from 15, we talked about on Monday, we didn't think that happened again, and then it happened again. I don't know if that's credit to Wisconsin's defense or just so happens that bad shooting nights against the same team twice in one season, but there were positives to take away for sure. So
yeah, I think those main positives come from the defensive end. I mean, you limited a 22 ranked team to 25 points in the first half. It just, unfortunately, this night they couldn't capitalize on offense. I think they had 13 forced turnovers and only converted 5 points off those turnovers or something like that.
Yep.
And when you don't convert points off turnovers and you don't take your opportunities or you don't seize your opportunities against a good team like this, it's going to be hard to win. But I'm not surprised that they lost, but yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the defense is the big takeaway from this game. I mean, like Nathan referenced earlier, you limit a guy like Ethan Happ, who is averaging almost 20 a game, to just 6 points, 3 for 7 from the field, just 3 rebounds for him, and you make him force 3 turnovers. I mean, that's a really good game for everyone who was on him, for Georgie, for, even for a couple minutes there, Adonis De La Rosa, Aaron Jordan, you talk about him because he's been playing the 4 a little bit. So that's a really good defensive performance from them. It's a little concerning when you don't have those big 3 and you don't have Andres Feliz off the bench contributing like you expect them to. Andres Feliz was just 1 for 5 from the field. He had 2 points. So, I mean, you need better from him. 4 points from Andres Feliz. You need better from him. 6 rebounds is great, but you're not counting on him to be a rebounder. You're counting on him to score off the bench.
I still like the defensive effort that Andres Feliz gives you,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you still saw that in the game. But like you said, I mean, he came in as a junior college transfer that was supposed to be able to provide you points and give you that opportunity.
And he's done that for the most part this season.
Yeah, and I've loved the way that he played, especially over the 4-game win streak.
Right.
It was fantastic to see what he was able to give off the bench, and that he had surprising rebound numbers for a guy that I think 5'10". I think he's
like
listed
6'1".
I thought
He's listed at 6'2".
Oh, okay, I thought he was
But
short.
still,
of that.
I mean, he's a guard. He's on the smaller side.
He would always get. I mean, they're always the hustle rebounds. They were always the ones that clanked off and they were outside the paint. But even some inside. But he gave you that effort, and he still gave you that in this game. And I do appreciate that and like to see that. Like I said, there's so many positives to take away from this game. It was disheartening at the end, and the offensive rebound at the end. With when the shot goes up, and if Georgie boxes out that guy, you have two guys right there, and a Wisconsin player is still able to come down with a board. You have under a minute left. You need that if you're gonna win in Wisconsin. So that's gonna break your heart a little bit about the game. But yeah, most of what we're gonna talk about today, I feel like is positive. I don't. There wasn't a ton of negative.
Right. I mean, you shot 30. You meaning Illinois. Illinois shoots 37% from the field. But, I mean, you only held Wisconsin to 40%. I mean, your defensive effort was great. And, I mean, I think, and, I mean, Nathan might fight me on this one because we've butted heads about this all year. I think this was DeMonte Williams' best game of the year. And I've said this all year. He doesn't appear in the box score, but 21 minutes, he hits both of his shots, 4 points. But he also gives you 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. And he just does those. He makes those hustle plays. He does the intangible things that also don't appear in the box score. So I think that was his best game of the year, maybe his best game as an Illini. I still am very much on the DeMonte Williams should be starting train. I think you see why he helps the starting rotation, but I think that was one of my big positives. The other one was Alan Griffin getting 11 minutes after getting 16 in the game before. I like seeing him get double minutes. He went 2 for 4 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. He had a rebound. He also had a block. And I think Alan Griffin, that's good because he gives you shooting. Shooting from, especially from 3, is his calling card. That's what he does best. So the spike in minutes is really really promising to me for him. Anybody else?
I mean, okay, you're not wrong. DeMonte Williams has shown his value, and I have been kind of a hater with unnecessarily. Because how are you going to hate when this guy's starting and it led to win streaks and it led to an increase of play and
they're 6-4 when DeMonte Williams starts
and Underwood knows what he's doing, and that I don't doubt it's always just been one of those things where it's like I want to see more Tavion, I wanted to see more Alan Griffin, I wanted to reward Feliz for the game that he had against Nebraska, but I guess I get it. And then yesterday or Monday, it was shown. He went 2 for 2. Like he said, he doesn't shoot a lot, but he made both of his attempts. Gives you 6 rebounds. He's an excellent defender. He's an excellent, like you said, non-box score guy. So, I don't know. He deserves to be in the starting lineup because it's a proven formula to help Illini basketball have better performance on the court and win more games. I just still want more out of him.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you're not getting anything from your big 3, you would think that you could get more from him, but it's just not the player he is, I don't think.
He's just a very unorthodox player. He's not going to stuff up the stat sheet, but, he'll play hard. So I think you got to respect that, Nathan.
Yeah, it's just interesting because, I mean, was it Tommy that said on Monday? I mean, DeMonte Williams used to be, a 25-point scorer in high school?
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think maybe that was the show you missed.
That was the show you were here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, DeMonte Williams used to be a huge scorer in high school, and then he had that ACL injury. Maybe he's still coming back from that, and now he's accepting that lesser role with these other guys around him.
Yep.
I would love to see DeMonte Williams score more. I think that would be awesome, but you're already pretty guard heavy. I want to address the minutes of Alan Griffin, Tevian Jones, and Kipper Nichols because I think those all fit into the same conversation of we are now back to the minutes fluctuating in a way that we had thought been resolved before. And now we're seeing Alan Griffin, who was getting 2 to 3 minutes a game. He's now in double digits. Tevian, who's getting 15 to 16, is now back in single digits. Kipper Nichols, who had been playing really well, is back down to 3 2 and 3, and he seems to be the 10th man again. Is this concerning to any of you that we're seeing this fluctuation again after we thought it was over?
Part of me says yes. Part of me says no, because the part of me that says yes says, okay, is there no game? Like, are we not really sure what to do with the bench? Are we not really sure, like, who is the sixth man? Okay, Andres Feliz is the sixth man.
Yeah.
I think that's for sure.
Fair.
He comes in to provide the scoring off the bench that Devontae Williams doesn't give you on the court. He does give you pretty much the same thing defensively with that enthusiasm. Maybe not so much. I mean, they had very similar, actually, stat lines outside of the scoring yesterday. I mean, they both had 4 points, both had 6 rebounds, they both had 2 assists. So yeah, they're very similar style players. Andre Feliz, sort of that Devontae Williams off the bench, but then after that, it's like, are we not really sure where we're going from here? I think Brad Underwood expected Alan Griffin's 3-point shooting to like finally come to form, and that's why he's been giving him a lot of minutes recently. And he goes 1 for 2. He hasn't lit it up yet. He hasn't really impressed with that. I know that they talked about I think that it was before one of the games 2 or 3 weeks ago that he made like 15 straight in the pregame, and that somebody made the comment that, or Brad and even Underwood saying like he's going to be an elite Big Ten shooter very soon. Right. Kind of reminds me of like a Jalen Coleman Lands from a few years back.
Right. Sure.
But I think that he expected that, and we haven't necessarily gotten anything to give us any indication that he is at an elite level on the court yet. Although we all still, I think, believe, he's a freshman. There's going to be some adjusting to playing in the Big Ten. Tevian getting less minutes bothers me because I think that we saw what he could do in Maryland when he was just balling and he was getting the minutes and he was putting up the points, and that's what we wanted out of him. Kipper getting less minutes after we all sort of got back in good,
he was playing well.
Yeah, we all were kind of back, like, okay, like we like you again, Kipper. Like we like what you're giving this team.
Yeah.
The fact that he only gets 3, I don't know. It's weird, but then part of me likes it because I think this is Brad Underwood committing to, if it's working, it's working, and I'm going to keep dedicating my minutes to whoever is playing well.
It's just super interesting. Sorry to cut you off real quick, Brendyn. And in his previous 4 games before this one, Kipper Nichols had played, starting with Nebraska, 29 minutes, 19 minutes, 17 minutes, 15 minutes. Then 3 against Wisconsin. That to me is just, I just don't understand that. And Brendyn, you had a point that you wanted to make.
I was just going to talk about how this is still a very young team. They're still like trying to figure out how to work with each other. The last few weeks have been successful, but if we look at the season overall, it really hasn't been. But I think Underwood is still trying to figure out how these guys work together. So I'm not as concerned with the fluctuation in minutes. And then with the Kipper Nichols situation, how he was averaging double-digit minutes. I don't know. Maybe he was a little gassed. Maybe something happened in practice. I'm not sure why you only got 3 minutes. But, yeah, I would definitely like to see him get more minutes.
There wasn't a time in the game, though, that I sat there and I was like, why am I not seeing more of this guy? Why am I not seeing more of it? And that's why I think, okay, if Underwood is dedicated to, like I said, whoever's playing well, giving them minutes, then I'm okay with it. I wonder, I think that for the most part, Underwood saw the unit he was putting out there is playing really good defense, and he thought, if we play really good defense, I know that these guys that I'm putting out there, because I've seen it the past 4 games, can score. Why can't I believe that now? Like, why does that change now? I don't think it does. These guys are giving me good defense. I'm going to leave them out on the court, and then he expected the scoring to come. It's a bad shooting night. I really don't believe that Wisconsin's defense was so suffocating that that's the reason that Illinois wasn't able to put up the points like they had in the past few games. And even then, like, we didn't put up a lot of points against Ohio State.
Hot streaks end.
Yeah. And it's a tough place to win. It's probably one of the harshest atmospheres they've faced. So that's all I'm chalking it up to. I sit there and I kind of stand by. It was a bad shooting night.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy to see, and it is a silver lining, at least to me, that they can have a poor shooting night, and then the defense is still coming together in such a way that you can hold an Ethan Happ to just 6 points, that you can, keep guys like Ravers off the scoring chart just to 9 points, and you only allow 2 guys to get into double digits. Granted, they both had 18 and 16, but even still, Brad Davidson at 18 points, he still shot 5 for 10 and 2 for 6 from 3. So that's still pretty good. You're still doing a good job. We're still starting to see Underwood's defense take hold with this team. Are you guys back? I mean, I don't think anybody out of the three of us were ever like buying into the Underwood's on the hot seat because his schemes aren't taking. But it seems like the rest of the fans now are both like, okay, the schemes are taking, and now we're seeing results. Does this give you more hope for the future than maybe 2 months ago, a month and a half ago?
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
yeah, not this game, just because I mean, it's
Right.
a
I'm
loss.
saying the last 6 weeks,
Yeah, of course.
six games
Of course,
as a whole.
if there were any concerns about Brad Underwood after, I think it was like the Florida Atlanta game was really the tipping point for some of the fans of like, okay, is this guy really the guy? We can't even win a home game against some no name the first time we've ever played him from Florida. Right. I still would have sat there and said, like the comment you made earlier, Brendyn, that it's a young team, that they still had so much growing to do, and how much growing they have done throughout the season. We have to give so much credit to the young players and also to the aforementioned Brad Underwood for having a young team that starts, two freshmen, a sophomore, two sophomores, and then your senior. You are losing Aaron Jordan and you are keeping everybody else for next season. And if you thought that this was going to be the NCAA tournament season, I mean, when we talked at the beginning of the season, we all predicted 18 wins, and then Tommy predicted 17 wins. We were wrong. Okay,
Right,
we overestimated this team a little bit, and there were some winnable games that they dropped early. Yep. But I think we all slept on the fact that this was such a young team. I think we all forgot that Ayo Dosunmu wasn't going to come out and be the stud that he has developed into right away. That we all forgot that, as great as Georgie has been, that we didn't really have inside presence when we were making these predictions. And we saw that against some of the teams in Maui and some of the non-conference teams that boast bigger lineups and some of the Big Ten games we played early on. And then Underwood's system took shape. And then he figured out how to run with 4 guards and an undersized center. And he figured out what to do and how to run their half-court offense to get a little more creative. Because I remember I was furious that they'd run the same, high post, and then the guy runs around and then he hands the ball off, and then they try a lob every 5 possessions. The half court offense infuriated me at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Now, you see creativity, you see open shots, you see better looks, and you see us beating Michigan States and Ohio States. Mm-hmm. That wasn't something that any of those fans that were on that hot seat conversation saw coming, because they didn't think any of this could happen. But Underwood trusted in himself and trusted that he could teach these young players how to play good Big Ten basketball, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, I think that, I don't ever think that, especially from my point of view, that Underwood was ever on the hot seat. Mm-hmm. But I think that now, given the fact that we have a 5-star center coming in next year, I think that Underwood has cemented his status, at least for this group of players. Mm-hmm. I think that next year we're going to have one of those players that could be one of those Big Ten dominant big men that you need in this conference to succeed. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see what this team can do next year. A year more they've played with each other. You're adding a big-time talent in Kofi Cockburn, and, I'm just really excited.
Yeah, it is. Cockburn, especially coming in, is a very exciting thing. Even to maybe a slightly lesser extent, Antoine January. Even before Cockburn was committed, everybody was ecstatic. I remember on our show we were ecstatic about January himself, just him having that actual inside presence, and he might not even start next year.
Oh yeah.
So, that's something to be excited about. And now, it is uplifting. You see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And you see that there is a path at the end of this. And now you're hosting Penn State on Saturday. And so we'll segue right into that and previewing that game. Penn State just put a beating down on Nebraska the other night. They beat them by, 20? Almost 30, I think?
It wasn't close.
It was not close at all. And granted, that's a Nebraska team that is skidding. They have not played well recently.
The score was 95
to 71, yeah. And so...
Dub.
Granted, that's at Penn State. Nebraska is sliding. Nebraska has not played very well as of late. They're not the same team that Illinois saw earlier in the season. And so Penn State, at the end of the day, is still a team that has struggled this year especially, and they've had their own struggles. They're kind of a team that's doing their own kind of rebuild too. How do we feel about hosting Penn State on Saturday?
I think that, I don't know, this can be scary, just given that we're not the only hot team. Mm-hmm. They have won 3 out of their last 5. They beat Michigan. They just beat Nebraska pretty bad, as you say. Lamar Stevens is averaging 20 and 8. I don't know. It's a scary, especially after coming off like a game in Wisconsin where I feel like the team really thought that they could win up until the last few possessions of that game. And I hope that that loss didn't make them feel like the wins before that were just like a fluke. I feel like if they come in with confidence against this game, you saw how Georgie played defense on Ethan Happ not once but twice and shut him down for 2 games.
Right.
If he can do that type of defensive presence to Lamar Stevens, I feel like this could be a good game for the Illini to win. However, it all just depends on how they come out, playing as a unit, playing confidently.
Should we learn the listeners a thing or two?
Let's do it.
Know your enemy, Penn State, the Nittany Lions. They're 10-16 on the season, 3-12 in the Big Ten. That is last in the conference, number 14. But they have, like you said, won 3 of their last 5. 69.3 points per game, 69.2 points allowed. So they almost tie every game they play. Wins against the Big Ten wins are against Northwestern, Michigan, and Nebraska. So it's a team that cannot be slept on. The same way that people didn't see the Michigan State upset happening for Illinois, nobody saw the Michigan upset happening for Penn State. Their leading scorer is Lamar Stevens, 19.5 points per game, 8 rebounds. He's a 6'8" junior forward. He will have a tough matchup against a hot Georgie. Maybe he cooled off a little bit in the game against Wisconsin, but regardless, he's still playing.
Georgie?
What's up?
Like a lukewarm Georgie?
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Even that, Georgie's not scoring as much as he was, but I still think, look what he did against Happ.
Yeah,
he's still playing really well defensively.
Defensively, I think he's hot. Offensively, I think it just depends.
He's not the food that you just put out of the microwave. It's like you took it out of the microwave and just let it sit for like a couple of minutes, but it's still warm.
It's like when you reheat pizza.
Right.
Yeah. When it's like you take one bite and you're like, this is still kind of cold, but the most part is still
You
pretty
reheat
warm.
pizza?
Yeah. I don't need cold pizza. I'm out on cold pizza. Anybody else with me on that? Because I have gotten so much hate for that.
The only time I eat cold pizza is when I'm really hungry and I have nowhere else to, really warm it up. So I'll eat it if I have to, if there's no other option.
Where are you that you're eating cold pizza and you don't have a microwave nearby is what I want to know.
If I'm at like a party or something, like at a restaurant.
Whose house are you hanging out that don't have a microwave?
No, Alex the type of dude to stick around at a party until like the very end, and then he goes over to the food table and he's like, "Oh, there's still pizza."
No. Okay, real quick. Look, but let me explain myself. Okay, I was at a bar and we ordered pizza, and there's no microwave around, so it eventually got cold. So I was just like, well, I was still hungry, so I had to eat cold pizza.
That's fair.
But you had Domino's the night before, 2 slices left. You wake up the next morning, you're not eating the cold pizza, you're warming it up, right?
Absolutely.
That's Georgie right now.
All right, there you go.
Penn State's DeMonte Williams.
I'm all in on cold pizza.
Penn State's DeMonte Williams is Jamari Wheeler. Both heavy in minutes, yet low on scoring production. Going to be interesting to see how they match up. I haven't watched a lot of Penn State basketball, especially not the beginning of the games, so I'm not quite sure if he starts, but he gets the 5th most minutes on the team. Mm-hmm. The X factor is going to be Josh Reeves, guard of Penn State. He averages 10, 3.2 rebounds, I think that's 3.2 assists and 2.5 steals. So he's very quick with the hands. To beat Illinois, you need a guard to really step up. You saw that with Davidson in Wisconsin. You've seen that, throughout. I've been saying this over and over again that the matchups to watch are the big men because it's like, can you outsize Georgie? Can you make him look like a freshman? But you need a guard to step up if you're really going to beat Illinois, and that's why the matchup to watch this time are the benches. The Penn State bench isn't necessarily excellent because the Penn State team as a whole hasn't been necessarily excellent this season. But when you won against Michigan, when you won against Northwestern, and this game against Nebraska, you just put a 90 burger on them. Mm-hmm. You had production off the bench. In this last game against Wisconsin, Illinois didn't have production off the bench. They ended up with a total of 11 points off the bench. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, right, but you got to have production off the bench to win this game. I think that's going to be the most important matchup. But you asked how I like it. I like it. At the end of the day, this is an Illinois team that we all feel very good about, and they're hosting the number 14 team in the Big Ten. They're hosting somebody that went 3-10. They're hosting that, while they did upset Michigan on their home court, is still a bottom tier Big Ten team. I think that you handle them. I think that you should win this game. I'm curious to see which teams come out on Saturday, because if it's a lackadaisical Illinois team that gets trapped by thinking that they're going to win against Penn State because they just beat all these teams, it feels like a trap game to me. If the Illinois comes out with the same enthusiasm that they came out with the past 5 games, I think it's an easy 10-point win. if Penn State comes out with the intensity that they did against Michigan and they bring that on the road against Illinois and they're ready to, set the trap for this trap game, then I think that you have a really interesting game going forward because you saw that against Rutgers. You saw that game go to overtime, even though you thought Illinois was a better team because Rutgers had that fire and that enthusiasm and that fight back. Not that Illinois didn't, but you're coming to State Farm Center, you're going to need to bring your A game right now because this Illinois team is hot. I'd still call us hot. We're not quite cold pizza yet, but
we're lukewarm.
Room temp.
We're a little better than yeah. I'd say we're room temp. A little better than lukewarm.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna spin the Wisconsin loss as actually a good thing, especially with hosting Penn State, because I think had Illinois beaten Wisconsin, I think Nathan, you're right. I think that's a perfect trap game. You're underestimating Penn State. You're like, all right, we're hot. We're on a 5-game win streak. Let's go. Let's just take care of business. We're done. I think losing to Wisconsin, especially in the manner that you did, where you weren't shooting well, you couldn't get the offense going. I think that's good because we've seen this Illinois team rise to a challenge like that. We've seen them come out and take their punches and say, all right, bounce back now. We got to have everybody, get it together, get their stuff together and come out hot the next time. They know Penn State is a team that's at the bottom tier of the Big Ten right now. But really, so is Illinois when you really think about it. Lately, they've been middle, upper tier. They're at the bottom still in the bigger picture of things. So they need to be able to beat up on a team like Penn State. Lamar Stevens is going to be a problem. I think Aaron Jordan and Georgie have to have good games. Georgie's been awesome lately, especially inside. He's taken care of the fouls for the most part. He's been a rock down there, and you've been able to trust him. I think you still get those 10-ish minutes from Adonis De La Rosa that are solid. That's perfectly fine. You just got to take care of Stevens. After that, like Nathan said, it's guard play. Look what Illinois did against Cassius Winston when Michigan State came to town. They shut him down, and Michigan State had no answers. So take care of Stevens. You don't have to completely shut him down. You just got to slow him down, much like Illinois did to Winston. Winston still scored 21 points, but he shot something like 6 for 14 from the field, and he wasn't the playmaker that he usually is. I'm going to chalk this up as an Illinois win. I say they win this as something like 67-61. I don't think it's quite double digits, but I think they take care of business and they start feeling good and get some momentum going into Purdue again.
I also am going to say an Illinois win, but I feel like the point that you mentioned about, how they have to, because the Wisconsin loss was bad for them, they have to come out on fire. I think that they do. I think this is a team that responds well under pressure. I feel like they get, it's like 70-65.
Okay. Illinois?
Illinois.
Okay. Alex?
Are we gonna prevent Alex from going last from now on so that he can stop being like?
Well, he just went last, so you said 10 points. You didn't put an actual score on it,
right? But. Well, I figured that I still had score input.
All right, Alex.
Considering I'm the reigning champion, I was the only person that predicted the Wisconsin win.
That's true.
Go ahead, Alex.
All right, Alex, then Nathan.
I would like to point out that for the Wisconsin game, I was tempted to say a loss, but since you got it first,
he switched. Wait, you know what it is? He switched, and that's the issue.
See, that's why he needs to start going third. I'm also the one that keeps the records. I'm the one that updates the drive doc and makes sure that we have everything recorded. I'm the one that has all this in front of me.
Do you have overall records for predictions in there?
Illinois basketball, yeah.
No, I mean mine.
Oh no.
We should have done that. Oh well.
Kept track of and see who was the smartest.
We should.
Fine, I'll go third. And, all right, I say we win.
Yay.
2 in a row.
I say we win maybe like a 70-62. I think we get not quite a double-digit win, but, close to it. I think this is a good game for them to bounce back against Wisconsin. I mean, you guys pretty much covered everything, so I won't, I'll keep my little spiel short. I do also see this, being a trap game as well, being that Penn State has played a little bit well recently, but I don't know. As a whole, Penn State has been worse than us, so I think, this is a game that we should win.
Something that I went back and looked at,
Sure.
Lamar Stevens is absolutely the guy that you have to stop.
Yeah.
I know I made the X Factor the benches, or I made the X Factor Reeves, but against Michigan, he put up 23 shots. So his 26 was a little inflated. He also got to the line a lot. Mm-hmm. He had like 2 key blocks in that game. He played 39 minutes, so almost the entire game. I mean, he is going to be the guy if anybody is going to be for Penn State. So you got to make sure that you stop him. I think that the trio of guards that will end up, or I guess not the I don't know, whatever the defensive scheme is that we throw up against him. We saw what we did to Hap. He's kind of sort of a similar player in regards of, being sort of a mid-sized forward that can score on any given night. You saw how the defensive scheme worked against him for that night, and that's why I think that this is going to be a double-digit win. I'm going to chalk it up as a 72-60 win for the Illini. Okay. I think that the defense just suffocates them. I think that, like Brendyn said, this is a team that responds pretty well, and this is Illinois taking control of what is a very manageable last 4 or 5 games of the season. Other than at ranked Purdue, you have Penn State twice, and then you get Indiana and Northwestern. You know what bothers me is that we got Nebraska as one of the two Big Ten, the first few Big Ten games, because they've been so stinky in the Big Ten season, but they were so high. Same with Ohio State. Those were our 2 Big Ten games that we got really early on. Those are teams that were just red hot at the time. But oh well, the past is the past. Illinois wins 72-60.
All right, so we're all on Illinois wins. I think that's probably right. I hope it's right. I mean, Illinois, it'd be nice for them to get.
I wouldn't be surprised.
We're back on that one. But yeah, I think Illinois, this is a good bounce back game for them. But that'll take us to our first break. When we come back, Manny Machado has signed. We will talk about that when we come back. We'll talk about some NFL news and maybe even do a little Bryce Harper prediction, see if that's going to come out. But stick around. We're going to talk about all that and more right after the break. And we're back out of break. We have a lot to talk about in these last 20 minutes or so. But first things first, in our break, we were talking about what we usually talk about, TV. And since Brendyn's new, we did our Game of Thrones predictions in a show that Brendyn was not here for. So now that he's a permanent member of the show, of our show, yeah, we got to let him give his prediction for Game of Thrones and who is sitting on the Iron Throne at the end.
So to recap, Jake predicted Arya Stark.
Please.
That was your prediction.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Please.
Oh.
I thought
that was a little bit of scoff. My bad. That's not me.
Tommy predicted the dwarf Tyrion Lannister. Alex and I both agree that it's the foreign invader Daenerys Targaryen. So I'm curious, where does your loyalties lie?
I like all of those picks. I would like to see Daenerys Targaryen or Jon Snow on the Iron Throne. My sleeper pick is Samuel Tarly. I've loved him since he first got on the show.
I said that.
It's not going to happen, but it would be so amazing.
Well, if it's a sleeper pick, it's got to be something that you could be like, oh, like people sleep on this, but it might happen.
People sleep on him, and it would make me so happy, but it's not going to happen. And
who would follow Samuel Tarly?
My pick is Daenerys Targaryen.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So everybody's on the Targaryen train. This makes me less confident in my pick.
Because like the masses, majority.
Well, do you want to have not like a backup, but like a?
Do I want to have a
secondary
plan B? Okay, I can.
Plan B.
I will make my sleeper pick then. It's Gendry.
Gendry.
Yeah, Gendry. Yeah, Robert Baratheon's illegitimate son. I think because and the reason that I made, I think when I was talking about this earlier with people, is that in the Game of Thrones theme, in the intro that they have every single episode, but not just that, but at the very end, every single time, even though that they changed locations, every single time it would go from a picture of the stag back up to the whole Game of Thrones, and then dun 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 and cut. And so that's why I've always thought that Game of Thrones would be one of those shows. It'd be we let you know from episode 1 who was gonna end up on the Iron Throne.
That'd be super lit. April 14th. I mean, we're less than 2 months.
It bums me out that this show won't still be going on when it ends.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have spinoffs and all that. So.
No, he's talking about our show.
Oh yeah.
The Why Not Drive emergency broadcast after the finale.
Yeah. we all just call in and have somebody hold our phones up to the microphones.
Emergency broadcast for the Game of Thrones finale.
We'll just all go live on Instagram or something.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. Oh, you can do the group Instagram now. Maybe we do that. We might have to look into that. But continuing on with the show, Manny Machado is no longer a free agent. He signs a 10-year, $300 million deal with the San Diego Padres, an opt-out after 5 years, a limited no-trade clause. The All-Star, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger, MVP vote getter, shortstop. A little bit controversial in the last season, but all in all, superstar. In 2018, /297, 367, 538 with a 905 OPS and 37 home runs, which ties his career high. Sets a new career high in RBIs with 107, 14 stolen bases. And, I mean, this is a superstar player that the Padres get.
He's good at baseball.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's probably going to be moving back to third base, which is arguably
like he plays better at third base.
He plays better, which is my next point. He's arguably better at third base anyway. He prefers shortstop, but when you have a player like Fernando Tatis Jr. coming up, he's the number 2, number 3 prospect in all of baseball. Right. You're not moving him over. Right, he projects as a Gold Glove caliber shortstop anyway. I mean, I love this for the Padres. I mean, this is a good move.
For the Padres.
He's 26. Even if he opts out after 5. You still have half a decade with all these prospects coming up probably in the next year. You have this window now to bring a championship to San Diego. You have the players. You have guys at the MLB level already, too, with Will Myers, Franchi Cordero, Austin Hedges, contributors. Eric Hosmer can't possibly be as bad as he was last year. So you have these pieces, and then you have all these prospects, too. Francisco Mejia, the aforementioned Tatis Jr.
You have a great baseball stadium too. I love Petco.
I love Petco. It's awesome. It's a great park.
The brick building on the side
warehouse,
is so cool.
It's awesome.
I loved watching the home run derby there because I just wanted to see him break a window.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, it's a good park. I think San Diego is going to be contenders in 2020. I think this year is still another year where they're going to be around 75, 80 wins. But 2020, I mean, this is a contending team.
I'd say 2021. Okay. Just because I think that it's hard to say somebody's a contender 2 years out when you haven't seen a good team fielded yet. I respect this decision from Machado because now he chills in San Diego.
Yeah.
He gets $300 million and he's got no pressure. At all until that team is a contender
for another year or two. Yeah.
And part of me wonders if this decision was influenced because he said, you know what, I'm not really a big fan of this Dodgers locker room. I don't really like all this competitive going after a World Series thing going on because he's gone on record saying that the hustle's not his thing.
Right.
He just wants to play baseball, and if he's got to run out a grounder to first base that he's not going to make, why do it? He seems to me like a San Diego kind of guy. Just so lackadaisical, no pressure. I don't want to win a World Series yet. I just want to keep raking and just make crazy amounts of money. That's what I'm doing. Good for him, Good for him. Go secure the briefcase, get that bag, and what better place to live for the next 10 years than
San Diego,
than discovered in 1904 by the Germans, San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I like this deal, Brendyn.
Yeah. No, as a Cubs fan, I'm very happy that he did not end up on the south side of Chicago, because as soon as they get better than us again, it'll be rough going back every summer. I think that I think Jake, you said it before. This is a generational player.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the highest contract,
highest free agent contract ever.
I mean, I agree with you. They have prospects in the works, and they can only get better from what they were last year when you add this generational player and you have the prospects that they are coming up.
Yeah, I mean, so now we mentioned already the White Sox now are left.
They screwed up.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. They screwed up. Their deal that they offered Machado was reportedly 8 years, 280 with quote unquote incentives that would push it well past 300.
You tell me you couldn't tack on another $10 million?
That's what I'm. So the AAV was higher. The annual average value was higher per year, but clearly Machado wanted the guaranteed. Right. He wanted what was handed to him. He didn't want to try and hit these incentives.
I don't even think the Sox deal had a no.
There was no trade clause either.
Right.
There was no opt out either. The White Sox don't do opt outs. That's what they said.
Yeah. Man,
this is
you're either a sock or you're not.
Well, this is my issue with the way the White Sox run their front office. And this has been the last few years because they took way too long to start a rebuild. They took way too long to trade Chris Sale and jumpstart this rebuild.
Yep.
Their front office has always been 2 to 3 years behind everything else that's happening in baseball. Opt-outs started happening 3 years ago, probably 2-3 years ago, when you started really seeing it with David Price.
Right.
You started seeing it with guys. I mean, Hayward, I think, was probably the first one to get it. And now you see a lot of other players wanting them, especially guys like Machado, who's 26. He wants one after 5 years when he can re-enter free agency at 30. Makes sense. The White Sox don't offer that opt-out. He says, all right, I'm going to go to a team that does, gives me the longer years, gives me the opt-out, gives me the limited no trade, and the guaranteed money. Now, the White Sox have to decide if they want to open the purse for Bryce Harper, which it seems like they won't, if they won't even pay Machado.
They won't.
Right.
So now they're left saying, all right, now we have all these prospects. We have Eloy Jimenez, Michael Kopech, Dylan Cease, Luis Robert, all these guys, and no star to build around. So do you go for guys like Marwin Gonzalez, who, yeah, they're fine players, they're good players, but they're no star? Or do you just preach, all right, next year now, we're going to go for Nolan Arenado, or we're going to go for Anthony Rendon?
Or if they do that, they have to land.
They have to do it because you can only say for so long, next year. You
can't. There's no excuse now. If you missed out on Machado now, then you have to land Arenado or somebody next season.
Because you're already possibly losing Jose Abreu next year too, who's been your star for the last 4 or 5 years. So you have to have a plan now. And what worries me for White Sox fans is that there's no plan, and they're not going to have a plan until next October.
Even as a Cubs fan, it frustrates me because I'll admit I like the White Sox. They're like my second team, and two, I do like Manny Machado. He is one of my favorite ball players. It's just you had just a great opportunity to land this guy.
Yep.
There was indications that he was willing to come to the White Sox.
It looked like it was a matter of when, not if.
Right. So, dude, just pay the man, and you got him.
Yep.
That's it. Just there's no trade clause. There's no opt out. It's like, dude. Forget all that stuff. If you want to improve as a team, this is what you just have to do.
There's no better way to do it.
Right. And what better player than freaking Manny Machado?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
26, plays a premium position, has developed as an offensive player. And also, if you're the White Sox, you went through the trouble of bringing in Yonder Alonso and John Jay in an attempt to be like, hey, look who we got over here, your buddies. And now...
Isn't John Jay related?
Yonder Alonso is his brother-in-law,
Yeah.
John Jay's his friend. Now, okay, John Jay, say what you will about him. He's a 1 or 2 WAR player. He's not moving the needle for you much. Yonder Alonso, you brought him in for no reason. He's not a very good player. He hasn't been good since probably 2015. So you have these contracts now hoping that it would get Machado signed, and you're like now what?
They just dropped the ball. Because the White Sox haven't been to the playoffs since like 08?
Haven't been what?
Haven't been to the playoffs since 08?
Yeah,
Is it 08?
Probably.
Right?
So a decade?
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 years. That's bad. Just like, oh my God. Like, of all the players in baseball, I would, hands down, if Manny Machado said, I will play with you if you give me $300 million, I would pay the man. Just pay him.
2008 was their last playoff appearance. You're right.
Hey.
All right. That was the year that the Rays went to the World Series. They lost to the Rays in the first round.
Jake, as our resident baseball guy, do you hate the Sox going and getting somebody like Dallas Keuchel or Craig Kimbrell now?
I don't hate it, but again, those aren't guys that are moving the needle for you. Yeah, Keuchel's fine. He's a former Cy Young winner, but you don't have much of a pitching staff around him. Yeah, Kimbrell's statistically one of the best closers of all time. Doesn't move the needle for you if you're only winning. You don't need an elite closer if you're winning 60 games.
It's fair, but like you said, not a great rotation going around right now.
Right.
Maybe you just take this offseason that you failed on Machado, that you're not going to sign Harper if you're not going to sign Machado, and just improve the pitching staff so that next season, like you said, though some of those big name free agents come up, I know that you'd have to then give, it becomes an issue of, well, we're paying guys this offseason when we really need to pay guys next season. And we really need to pay guys next season because our fans are going to be furious if they have to go through another offseason of watching other teams manage to pay them more when we've been, 10, we'll probably be 11 straight years without a playoff appearance. Maybe spend this offseason, just get somebody that
supplemental guys.
Put some cred on your rotation.
Right. That's fair. And I mean, that's fine. I wouldn't hate that if they do that, but they have to say, all right, we're all in next year. We're willing to pay $300 million because Arenado is going to be, I think, 27 or 28 in free agency. So he's going to command an 8 or 10 year deal worth $300 million, $300+ million. So you have to be able to say, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to pay these guys because you can't do what you did this offseason and say, we're doing it. We're almost there. We're almost going to sign them. And then someone else swoops in and takes them from you.
I'd love for the Sox to get Adam Jones.
That's fine.
Just like, hey, like this is a guy that used to be pretty solid.
Used to be.
Yeah, let's bring. You wanted Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper. We'll give you Adam Jones.
Right, Adam Jones isn't selling tickets.
Let me ask you this, Jake. So with the free agent market that's coming up next offseason, or it's a two-parter, who do you think the White Sox should sign, and who do you think they probably would sign if they go ahead and say that they're going to sign a big free agent? Who do you think?
I know they're going to say they're going to go after Nolan Arenado and Anthony Rendon because I think those are the top two. It's just, again, it's this White Sox front office that I don't know if they'll actually do it because we've played this game so many times with them where they say, all right, we're going to do it. All right, here we go. And it looked like they actually were. And then they, once again, they didn't. So, they're going to say they're going after Nolan Arenado. I'm sure they re-sign Jose Abreu just because he's been there forever. And, they might as well. He might take a discount if you go and get someone like Arenado. Other than that, this was supposed to be the free agent class that everyone was like, okay, like, here we go. We're going to do it. Like, this was the one that everyone was so excited for. Now you're looking at guys, Rendon and Arenado are the top two. After that, you're looking at Xander Bogaerts. They might sniff around him. He's going to be 27. I assume the Red Sox re-sign him, though. Josh Donaldson will be a free agent again, but he'll be 34. Other than that, it's a fairly uninspiring group unless Marcell Ozuna bounces back and JD Martinez opts out, which he definitely won't do at the age of 32. So, it's Arenado or bust for the White Sox next year. Right. That's how you have to look at it.
Right.
Because other than that, you don't have, unless Martinez opts out, that's pretty much it.
Man, they screwed up.
They screwed up big time.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's
really bad. Now you're left scrambling. I think that's probably for a lot of teams. I think it's going to be the same way for the Phillies if they can't sign Harper. I think that the Phillies and Giants are going to be left in a similar scenario where they're scrambling and they're trying to piece it together. But we'll see. At the end of the day, good for the Padres. They're going to be contenders in 2 years.
Yeah, great for the Padres. Great for Manny Machado. Love him. Best of luck to him. The Padres, now looking at this lineup, they do look pretty decent.
Yeah.
And, I haven't talked about the Padres in God knows how long, so.
A long time.
Ugly jerseys. I hate
You don't like the yellow and browns?
No, I hate.
I love the yellow and browns.
Really, I don't.
I hate the yellow and browns.
I can see the appeal. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. For me.
I like their classic, the blue and cream and with a little bit gold tint or whatever. The stuff they have going on.
But the gold and brown and the burnt orange. It's a little
I'm out. When that All-Star game was there again, their jerseys were so gross.
Those are hideous.
Oh, they were so bad.
I respectfully disagree.
I didn't like those. Those were.
All right, Harper goes where?
I still say the Phillies.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would have said the Giants had a chance, but now that Bochy's retiring after 2019, I don't think Harper's going to want to deal with that turnaround and a new manager. So I still say it's the Phillies.
I heard now talks with the Phillies are a little but I still think he sounds with the Phillies.
If the Padres swoop in though, that would be hysterical.
That'd be wild.
That'd be wild.
Then I would say 2020 contenders for sure.
They have the money for it.
Chaos
their payroll is nothing.
San Diego would jump from arguably the most irrelevant team in baseball to
the most watchable.
Yeah. I'd be watching. I have MLB TV. I'd be watching a lot of Padres games. I might anyway.
He's gonna go to the Phillies though, but he's gonna go wherever this is the number 326 million provides because although Machado's 300 mil makes him the highest paid free agent signing ever.
Harper's gonna get more though.
Right, but Stanton signed a $325 million extension, so it's not necessarily a free agent. But I think Harper wants to become the highest paid in any transaction ever, and so whoever can cough up 326 plus whatever that number ends up being, that's who's going to get him. And I don't know anything about the payrolls. I do know that the Phillies can afford him.
They can.
I know that. Can the Padres afford that?
Technically, yes. Yes, they could.
It's putting a lot of money on two players, though.
And Eric Hosmer, who they gave 124 to last year.
Sheesh. So
it's a lot of money.
Whoever's got 326, but in the words of Antonio Brown, hit his line. Whoever's got $326 million, let him know.
I feel like there's still a team that we haven't heard about with Harper, whether that's a team like the Dodgers or
Rays.
Yeah,
Let's say you haven't heard about. Let's
Yeah.
get really out there.
Yeah,
The
okay.
Mariners,
right.
the Twins.
Yeah, right. The Mariners would be wild. No, I still think it's the Phillies until further notice.
And just a side note, in MLB The Show on my game, like Machado was on the Mariners and Jose Abreu, and I was just like, what?
Weird.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Wow.
But it looked good. I mean, they beat us. It looked good. Like,
sure
they were
it
in the
did.
top of the division. But anyway, go ahead.
No, Phillies until further notice.
They got a cool ballpark.
They do. Citizens Bank's cool.
Yeah.
I think the Phillies would be NL East favorites, even though that division's going to be really tough anyway. But I just Harper's going to sign by the. Yesterday I was on the show with Isaac, and I predicted that Harper would have signed by this time. Really trying to speak it into existence there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Hopefully, it's by the end of the week because camp is starting. Spring training games start on Saturday. So I'm really excited for that because MLB TV covers that too. So I'm excited to start watching baseball again.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say he doesn't sign me at the end of the week.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm gonna, if you will, bet the over.
Okay.
I'm gonna. I for
That's
some
fair.
reason,
I mean, the way
I
it's
think
going.
that he wants to sit there and take as much time as possible, and then look back at all these $300 million plus offers, and just sort of just be like,
Throw a dart at one.
not throw a dart at
Or
one, but
two to one.
just look at all of them and be like, look at what I've done.
Right.
All right. The
Well,
Cubs.
the report the report is that he's turned down multiple long-term 300 plus offers. So I don't know what his end game is here, but
That's why I think that he wants the
He wants to see
absolute
him.
best deal that he
Right.
possibly can
He
get.
wants
He
to-
doesn't care how long he has to wait because as soon as he gets that deal, he's just gonna walk in. All right, I'm gonna be Bryce Harper and just ball out.
right. I mean, he lives in Vegas. You know he's still in the cage. You know he's still
Right.
putting in work. Yeah, I still say the Phillies though.
Phillies.
Yeah. Phillies.
Phillies.
All right, last 3 minutes, last 2-3 minutes. Le'Veon Bell's officially a free agent. Any team can sign him. The Steelers are not going to tag him. Quick predictions. Where do we think he goes? I say the Colts.
Interesting.
I don't know. Go ahead. You go.
It's so crazy because I say the Jets.
Jets, okay. I've seen them.
Jets.
Jets.
Darnold and Le'Veon bringing the Jets back.
Would be sweet.
That would be cool.
And then if they signed offensive talent in the draft too, so that Robbie Anderson wasn't their number one wide receiver, that'd be a legit team. Especially with defensive players like Jamal Adams and just that defense that they have there.
Yep.
They wouldn't be contenders because they're still in the AL East, or not AL East. What division? What sport are we talking about again?
AFC.
AFC.
What
Like
sport are we
AL
talking about?
I forgot about football. It's been a
been a long
sad
time.
month.
Yeah, I'm going with Jake Le'Veon to the Colts.
Yeah. Andrew Luck and Le'Veon Bell would be electric.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like his name escapes me now. I haven't thought about football in so long. Marlon Mack. I like him as a running back. I like him as somebody that you're not going to have to pay a lot that's going to get you yards. You look how he did against the Texans.
Okay.
I mean, but if you have this chance to get Le'Veon Bell though, it's one of those things where it's like Khalil Mack. Like your team is better with him
Right.
on it. So go get it.
And I mean, Le'Veon Bell is just costing you money. So
Yeah.
unlike Khalil Mack. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell is going to change whichever team he goes to. Antonio Brown, I'm saying 49ers.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, 49ers.
I'm all in on
Yeah.
the Niners.
49ers are going to be good next year.
Are they?
I think so.
I remember seeing bold predictions that they'd win the NFC West this year.
Well, that was before Jimmy
Yeah.
tore his ACL.
I know. Yeah. Oh, no, and no injury bug bit harder than the one in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say Brown. Brown to the 49ers, and then for lack of knowledge of Le'Veon Bell, I don't know where he's gonna go or what teams are most likely to get him. I will say the Colts just because it seemed like Jake knew what he was talking about.
I always seem like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't. I really don't.
For that moment, it seemed like he's going to the Colts. Like, all right, I'm gonna have to say the Colts because
I was so sure of myself. Yeah, I mean,
hey, I was sure that Machado was gonna go to the White Sox.
we were all sure because they were just.
Man, oh my god,
They blew it.
I'm not even a Sox fan like
Yeah,
that.
right.
I'm just like
You're just sad for White Sox fans,
right. It's like, dude, it's Manny Machado. Just pay
Just do
him
it.
$300 million.
It's just $300 million.
Just do it. Like, man.
Oh man! All right, that does it for us. This has been Illini Drive. Thank you for listening. For myself, for Nathan, for Brendyn, for Alex. That's all for us this week. We will be back on Monday. Listen to Isaac and Eli and Tati tomorrow to wrap up your week. They will do their own preview of Penn State. I'm sure they'll talk about Machado a little bit too. Whatever other news you need, But thank you for listening. Alex, hit the music.